Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. On the 12th of October, people across the country came to know of a shocking development.
Well, a sensational murder in Maharashtra. Baba Siddiki, one of the top NCP leaders and a political strongman in Maharashtra, who has been shot dead.
The former Congress MLA who recently joined the Ajit Pawar faction of the NCP was gunned down just a short distance away from his son Zishan Siddiqui's office.
The killing comes ahead of assembly elections in the politically volatile state of Maharashtra. The forensics team...
So Baba Siddique was a well-known figure in Mumbai.
That's Indian Express's Mohamed Thaver, who covers Mumbai crime for the paper.
He was an MLA 3 times in the past with the Congress. And one of the reasons, funnily, for which he got well known was when he got Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan to patch up.
Siddiki was well known in Bollywood and was famous for hosting lavish iftar parties which were attended by prominent figures from the film industry, business and politics.
And Bandra was his base. Like, his son is an MLA from Bandra East. He has fought from Bandra West. And he was also involved in a lot of building redevelopment. He was in the real estate sector. In the past few years, he was involved in SRA projects. So, he was well known. He was connected to whether it is Bollywood, whether it is politicians, whether it is real estate, whether it is the media. He was quite well known.
And Mohammed, it was last Saturday that Siddiki was killed. Tell us, what do we now know about how that happened?
So on Saturday night, he had gone to his son's office, and around 9:30, as he was coming out of the office, so he had a habit of parking the car some distance away from the office so that, he could meet the party workers and all of that. And police say that the accused had been conducting a recce and they would have found this particular spot the time that they could target him. And as he was walking out, he was gunned down. 6 rounds were fired, 3 rounds hit him. He was rushed to the hospital. He was declared dead on the spot.
And who do we know was responsible for this?
So see, right now the investigation is still on. What happened is, soon after the firing, 2 people were arrested from the spot itself. Like, one person who was hiding in a garden nearby was arrested and another from the spot itself. The third person managed to run. Usually in such cases, people come on bikes and firings take place like that. But in this case, they had come on foot. And also what they did is they were carrying a pepper spray kind of a thing which they sprayed so that the protection. So Baba Siddique had a 2+1 protection, which means 2 constables during the day and 1 in the night. So by the time the incident took place, he had 1 constable with him. So the pepper spray was sprayed and then the firing was carried out, and it was used to create confusion as the crowd started running. These people kind of tried to escape. One of them managed to escape. The 2 who were caught, they have basically told the police through their background and things like that. They have come to know about the others who were involved, and it does point towards the involvement of the Lawrence Bishnoi gang.
Gangster Lawrence Bishnoi. He is at this moment in the Sabarmati prison in Gujarat.
Lawrence Bishnoi, the name that suddenly has sparked off fear everywhere.
In 2014, Bishnoi was captured in an armed clash with Punjab police and sent to jail again. Reports suggest Bishnoi operates his criminal empire from jail. Authorities say Bishnoi...
Mohammed, a lot of our listeners would know that Lawrence Bishnoi is a well-known Indian gangster who has been in jail since 2015. He and his gang are allegedly involved in a number of murder and extortion cases. They have even targeted Salman Khan in the past. So tell us a bit more about the gang and where it is based out of.
So see, Lawrence Bishnoi gang was one of the gangs that was active in North India, but not a lot was known about him. But what the police have found is that he kind of, like earlier he was involved in Rajasthan, Haryana. So he also kind of increased his clout by tying up with smaller gangsters operating across states in North India. The first time he kind of got pan-India coverage in that sense was after the Sidhu Moosewala murder case.
Punjab police has got a 7-day remand of gangster Lawrence Bishnoi, the prime suspect of Sidhu Moosewala's murder. He was presented before the chief judicial magistrate in Mansa on Tuesday.
And a week after the Sidhu Moosewala murder case, he had, left a threat letter at Bandra bandstand where Salman's father Salim Khan comes to walk. And since then, his attacks on Salman Khan and all have given him a lot of notoriety in Mumbai. In the north, he runs an extortion empire where they have gunned down people in the past who've refused to pay extortion. Most recent being in the last month, they gunned down a gym owner in Delhi who the police say was not willing to pay 5 crore extortion. So Bishnoi gang in that sense is one of these gangs that carry out extortions in the north. But over the past 2-3 years, because he has, tied up with other gangs and because he's going after these high profile gangsters, he is trying to kind of create a pan-India identity. Also, another fact being that, like for example, in Mumbai, initially such kind of things would happen in the 90s when Dawood Ibrahim or Chota Rajan would make these threat calls. But now with Mumbai police over the years having kind of gained complete control, like there were gangsters like Ravi Pujari who were also active. But now with most of them being kind of neutralized by the police, what officers have told me is that Bishnoi also looks at that as an opportunity. He knows there's a vacuum there and Mumbai is where rich people stay, big industrialists stay. So he also looks at it as an opportunity where by targeting Salman, he can create that sense of fear and then he can use that fear to make extortion calls.
And Mohamed, tell us, what has the police found out about the gang's role this time and what do they assess was the possible motive behind killing Baba Siddiki?
So what the police have found so far is that there is a Pune module and there is a Haryana module. And the guy who arranged Shubham Lonkar, the guy in Pune who arranged for 2 of these people who shot at Baba Siddiki, and the Haryana person who arranged for another shooter, both of these are known to have worked for Lawrence Bishnoi in the past or have been in touch with that. So the initial investigation does point towards the involvement of the Lawrence Bishnoi gang. Usually Bishnoi gang also is known to claim credit for the hits that they carry out. This time too, the Shubham Lonkar, there was an account on Facebook which claimed credit. Usually it is someone higher up. It is either Anmol Bishnoi, who is Lawrence Bishnoi's younger brother, or it is Rohit Godara, who is also a top aide. So this time it is a lower rung guy who claimed responsibility, and in the Facebook post he has claimed that Baba Siddiqui's proximity to Salman Khan, who has always been on the radar of the Bishnoi gang because they say that he was involved in the killing of a black buck in 1998, and the black buck is considered a holy animal for the Bishnoi community.
सलमान खान ने जो ब्लैक बक का हत्या की थी, शिकार किया था, उससे समाज बहुत आहत है. बिश्नोई समाज ये चाहता है कि भाई जो उसने गलती की है, बड़ी भारी गलती की है, उस गलती की उसको माफी मांगनी चाहिए.
So one of the people who was arrested in the Salman Khan firing case, Anuj Thapan, he had allegedly committed suicide in police custody. So the gang has claimed that this is a response for that. And also the fact that Baba Siddiqui was close to Salman Khan. Further, they have said that Baba Siddiqui also had ties with Dawood Ibrahim in the past is what they have alleged. And this is the reason that this hit was carried out.
And when we compare Siddiqui's case with some of the other cases this gang has been involved in, is there anything particular that stands out to you?
Yeah, so in this particular case, in the case of Baba Siddiqui, things have been a bit different. Usually how gangsters operate is that to create fear, they will just get their henchmen to fire rounds and things like that. Killing people is the extreme step which had not happened in Mumbai in the past few years. So police in this particular case are also wondering whether if he did that just to create fear, then why did he have to murder Baba Siddiqui? Like in the attack at Salman Khan's place, they just fired outside his building. So there are a lot of questions. One, why did he have to kill Baba Siddiqui? Because he has killed him, the police are also exploring whether, Bishnoi got a supari, like they say, a contract to kill him. Another big angle that the police is exploring is that recently there were disputes in Bandra East, like there are these big redevelopment projects happening, and Baba Siddiqui and his son Zishan Siddiki had been opposing some of these projects. Now these are projects worth 10 to 20,000 crores. So the police are also exploring whether was it the dispute arising from this that prompted somebody to give a contract to Bishnoi gang. So, in this particular case, because there has been an aberration in the normal way that he works, the police still have not 100% concluded that this is just a killing carried out to increase his influence. They are also looking at the possibility that this could have been a contract given by someone else.
And Mohammed, the Bishnoi gang has been involved in so many other cases. Have they ever targeted a politician in the past?
No, at least not in Mumbai. They have not. In fact, this is the first person whom they have killed in Mumbai. In Mumbai, they've just carried out firing outside Salman's house. In the north, they have killed people, but the targets are not political or high-profile people in that sense. Last month, a gym owner was gunned down. Prior to that, they had killed a broker who had refused to pay them extortion money. So those were clear-cut cases of, extortion demand not being met. But so far, they haven't gone for such a high-profile target, which again is making the police wonder whether it is simply because a case of him trying to increase his clout. Because we don't know of any extortion call that the Siddiquis had received. We don't know of any extortion calls that have come to Mumbai. So even if he wants to create fear and use it to make extortion calls, after the firing outside Salman's house, there should have been more extortion calls. To that, the police say that maybe he is making extortion calls, but people are too scared to come and report it to the police. But so far, in that sense, he has not started making calls and extorting people.
So basically what the police are wondering is that if he did kill Baba Siddique to increase his clout, why isn't he taking advantage of it?
Yeah, I mean, he could have started taking advantage of it after the firing outside Salman Khan's house, right? Because the police in the charge sheet said that he's doing this to increase his clout. So that happened in April and now it's October. So in the 4 months, at least on record, there is not a single case where he's called up somebody and made an extortion demand. So it is quite possible that he may have, but people are scared to report. But usually over a period of 4 months, one would at least hear about 1 or 2 cases, because if he started making calls, he would not stop at 1 or 2 calls. He would then, target many people.
And you mentioned that they've had Salman Khan as a target for some time now, because they say that Salman Khan had killed a black buck, and black bucks are supposed to be a sacred animal for the Bishnoi community. Now, since Baba Siddique's killing, has there been any reaction from Salman Khan himself, especially since Siddiki was so close to the Khan family?
So Salman Khan has kept mum on the issue. He has not said anything about these threats that have been coming. So in that sense, there is a studied silence from his end. And I'm sure the police must have told him that for him to say anything which would worsen things would not really, be the ideal scenario. So Salman has so far been quiet. After the incident, he had come to the hospital and to, offer his condolences to Baba Siddique's family. But so far, he has not commented on the issue.
And, immediately after the killing, when people were talking about the gang and its clout and its reach, what probably surprised a lot of listeners was that while this was going on, we also heard the name of Lawrence Bishnoi from the mouth of the Canadian police.
What we've seen is there's specific targeting of pro-Khalistan elements in Canada, or members of the pro-Khalistan movement. What we've seen is from an RCMP perspective, is the use of organized crime elements. And I will say and it's been publicly attributed and claimed by one organized crime group in particular, which is the Bishnoi group. So that's what we're seeing here in Canada. And we believe that group...
And just for context, what the Canadian police was alleging is that agents of the Indian government were collaborating with the Lawrence Bishnoi gang to essentially spread terror on Canadian soil. And this entire controversy, of course, had started last year when Canada suggested that Indian diplomats were involved in the assassination of the Khalistani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And also after the Canadian police mentioned the Bishnoi gang, we also heard Prime Minister Justin Trudeau say it in an interview.
Diplomats collecting information on Canadians who are opponents or in disagreement with the Modi government, passing along that information to the highest levels within the Indian government, and then having that information directed through criminal organizations like the Lawrence Bishnoi gang to then result in violence against Canadians on the ground it was the RCMP's determination.
So one thing has been confusing a lot of people is like back in the day when the Dawood Ibrahim and Chota Rajan gangs were operational, these guys had gone outside the country. They were working from outside the country and running their gang. In Lawrence Bishnoi's case, oddly, he is very much in the country and he is behind bars. He is lodged in Sabarmati prison. Unfortunately, there is a provision in the law. If the agency feels that a person faces security threat, they can put a stay of 1 year, wherein for 1 year, the person cannot be released from that particular prison. So last year, the NIA had done that last August. So even after the Salman Khan case, the Mumbai police could not get the custody of Lawrence Bishnoi even though he was lodged in a prison because that condition had been put up. The Mumbai police was hopeful that at the end of August, the 1 year period will be over and they would be able to get his custody. However, what happened is again there was another extension for a year, which means till next August again, the Mumbai police cannot get Lawrence Bishnoi's custody, which has, a lot of people have raised questions on that as to you have a gangster who is wreaking havoc across the country in Mumbai and why is the police not being given access to him? One section blames the Mumbai police saying they can go to the prison and question him. But what the Mumbai police believe is that they would rather have his custody and get him to Mumbai because to question him in a prison where he has been for long, they believe would be an advantage to him. And if they go ahead with that, then they will not again get custody to get him back to Mumbai. So they are insistent that they would rather get him to Mumbai. But because of the block that has happened, they have not been able to do that. So which again has also been, the issue has been raised by the opposition as well, wherein they are asking why the Union Home Ministry is not allowing the Mumbai police to take the custody of a gangster. And it is in this light that, there has been criticism. And in Canada's case, they mentioned that Lawrence Bishnoi works at the behest of the Indian government, which the government has denied. So, in this scenario, the Mumbai police officers have again written to the MHA and they have sought, permission to get the custody of Bishnoi.
And Mohammed, what has really raised concerns is that Lawrence Bishnoi has been in jail for over 8 years now. And despite that, his gang has managed to be involved in so many high-profile cases. Sidhu Moosewala you mentioned, and now you have a politician who has been killed. Talk a bit about that aspect because that is really a big question mark on the country's law and order situation.
Yeah, see, in the past, surprisingly, he has also given video interviews from behind bars. I think he was in Punjab prison then. So Bishnoi seems to being able to operate his gang freely. His brother Anmol and, his aides who are located abroad, he seems to find ways to get in touch with them. In that sense, even in the past, gangsters would meet their men when, for example, they were brought to court for custody. But in Bishnoi's case, so he is not even, it is possible that when he comes out to the court for custody, but now with the block that has been put in and the security issues around him, I am not sure whether the police would even be taking him to court or whether they would be doing the procedures online. So that does raise question as to how he's giving interviews, how is he managing to communicate with his gang members. So obviously there is some access that he is being granted from the prison. But how that operates, and especially now in the face of the issues that he has created for the Mumbai police and for the security establishment at large, I think there must be heat on the prison officials and those in touch with Bishnoi to kind of ensure that he is not able to, run his gang with impunity.
And Mohammed, we often hear of gang-related killings. Those are fairly common, one would say. But how common is for a politician to be murdered like this?
No, not common at all. In fact, yesterday I was talking to the former police commissioner D. Sevanandan and he said that during the late 90s this was happening and, where there were a lot of killings, like in 1998, he said 101 people were gunned down in Mumbai. But over a period of time, like since 2002, 2003, such high-profile killing has in that sense not taking place, which is gang-related. Of course, there are shootouts of local gangs and, those continue. But for a gang, a big gang like a Dawood gang or things like that, to gun down somebody influential, a politician, is kind of a sad reminder of what used to happen in late 90s when you had big names like Gulshan Kumar being gunned down. So that again is a issue that, is a question mark for the Mumbai police, because for 2 decades or more than 2 decades, such a thing has not happened. And now there is this gang, which obviously it's not that it started making extortion calls and it's not as bad as it was back then. But the fact that they've gunned down like a political figure in Mumbai who was affiliated with the ruling party is really shocking, and it is a question mark for the Mumbai police, which claims to be, in control of things and maintaining law and order. So it is a big question mark for them.
And when we talk about how things were so bad in the 90s, I was wondering what made that possible? What was the reason that the police were not able to clamp down on those gangs back then?
So you have to understand that in Mumbai, as it is a territory that is eyed by these gangsters, because you do have a lot of the headquarters of big offices and you have a lot of rich people staying here. So Mumbai has always been a very attractive pie for these gangsters. And like Mr. Shivanandan was telling me yesterday, that it is not that suddenly in the 90s these things happened. Like he said, it took 3 to 4 decades and, slowly gangs started being formed. And what we saw in the late 90s was like a crescendo where the gangs had established over the years where maybe action was not taken against them. And this was the point where they had such deep roots in the city that they could really get away by, making these extortion calls and creating their fear networks. And one of the things that also kind of led to the underworld, in the 90s especially, was also the liberalization. So what also happened is initially when it came to gangsters in the city, it was more about smuggling. So a lot of these guys like Dawood and others started by smuggling goods that were not allowed. But after liberalization, when this source of income where a lot of things you could get freely, you did not need to smuggle it in, then they kind of moved on to making these extortion calls. So that also could be one of the factors as to why in the 90s things really started getting heated up. But ever since then, this thing has not happened. So, it is surprising that in this day and age, for this thing to make a comeback is quite surprising.
Now, Siddiqui's assassination has once again put a glaring spotlight on the law and order situation in Maharashtra, especially given his role in the ruling alliance.
Now, there are 2 aspects in this whole development. First is the assassination of Baba Siddiki.
That's Indian Express's Shubhangi Khapre, who writes on Maharashtra politics for the paper.
Now, Baba Siddiki is a very senior leader whose association with Congress has been for over 4 decades. So in that sense, he is a political face. He's a leader. He's not someone who can be dismissed as insignificant when it comes to Maharashtra politics. Number 2, he represents a minority community, and especially at a time when the ruling Mahayuti, led by BJP, is drawing a lot of flag for alienating the minorities in Maharashtra, which was seen in last Lok Sabha. Now, this consolidation of minorities towards Mahavikas Aghadi, and especially when they're going for assembly elections on November 20, amidst all this, assassination of a leader who represents minority community, somebody who's been in this field for 5 decades in his political career, and who has recently joined your ruling party. He joined NCP led by Ajit Pawar. So that was not a development which augurs well for the ruling government in Maharashtra, and especially the Mahayuti government. Now, there are a lot of aspects to it. One is that, it could be out of personal rivalry over land dispute. It could have been a vengeance by Bishnoi gang. Now, these are the kind of issues which the Mumbai police is basically pursuing it right now. But there cannot be any excuse for anybody's assassination, and it's been done so brazenly. So on a day when everybody was celebrating Dussehra in Mumbai and Maharashtra, and the Mumbai police, which takes a pride of being one of the finest, and it's one of the finest forces in the country. And given their background, given their expertise, so this, for the ruling parties, they are going through a lot of things to how to explain this failure in kind of, saving a life of a politician from their own ruling party. And now that's something the opposition has kind of encashed it.
उन्होंने 15 दिन पहले कहा था कि उनको ये धमकियां आ रही हैं। वाई कैटेगरी सिक्योरिटी दी गई थी।
दशहरे के दिन, जिस दिन इतना पुलिस का बंदोबस्त था, हत्यारे आते हैं, हत्या करके चले जाते हैं। ये क्या दिखाता है आपको महाराष्ट्र में?
क्या सरकार इनको प्रोत्साहन दे रही है? सरकार की बैकिंग है? सरकार अपने काम भी क्या इन लोगों से कराती है? जिसकी वजह से इतने सक्रिय हो गए हैं कि
And Shubhangi, at a time when this government is being questioned on law and order, can you talk a bit about what its track record has been like in this area?
See, if you look at Devendra Fadnavis as the Chief Minister of Maharashtra in 2014 to 19, and at that time he held this home portfolio, which was the most significant portfolio, given the complexities of Maharashtra and Mumbai, which had this history of once upon a time of gang wars. I must say, in 2014 to 19, he handled very well law and order. He came across as a no-nonsense politician, no-nonsense leader when it came to crime and curbing the crime. And also the reforms. He took major reforms to great extent to end the factionalism which was seen in the Mumbai police, Maharashtra police. So the first phase of his career in that sense, as a Chief Minister of Maharashtra, it is praiseworthy because he really took a lot of efforts to bring a lot of bold reforms, and he may have invited a lot of flack from a lot of police persons at that time. But yes, gave a very clear message that personal vested interests will not be tolerated when it comes to law and order situation of Maharashtra and Mumbai. But if you look at the second innings of this government, where Fadnavis is not the Chief Minister, but he still holds the Home Department, Home Ministry, as a Deputy Chief Minister. And I must say that this is not the case in isolation, but yes, there have been spate of incidences where questions can be raised about the law and order of the situation.
This includes the Badlapur incident, where two 4-year-old schoolgirls were allegedly sexually assaulted by a janitor who was later killed in a police encounter.
Now, of course, in any crime, in any city, any state, nobody says that it's always politically motivated. No, we are not casting any aspersions in that. But ultimately, when you are head of the department, when you're in the ruling party, and when things go wrong, whatever be the reasons, justified or not, merit or demerit, the question ultimately will be, what is your government doing? And I think rightly so. That is what the opposition is pointing to that. And the ruling party has to answer that.
And can you talk about the position that it puts this government in, especially considering that this is happening so close to the upcoming elections?
See, this is one incident which is, if you look at the timing of this incident, this puts the ruling party on a back foot. Because Baba Siddiki, now we'll get to know when the case is cracked and, whatever the real reasons come out and all, it's going to be murkier than what is visible right now. And there'll be a lot of other issues, probably not just Bishnoi gang. But the point is, if you talk about the public perception, then it's a failure, number one. And yes, it is unsettling for the ruling alliance because Ajit Pawar is an alliance partner of BJP and Shiv Sena led by Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. And in this situation for Ajit Pawar, when he goes to poll or when he goes before the people, and how does he explain, that a senior leader who had recently joined his party in February 2024 is kind of assassinated in a city like Mumbai? There are no concrete answers for that.
कल जो घटना हुई है वो घटना आज तक हमें विश्वास नहीं हो रहा है कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ है। सीएम साहब भी इसके ऊपर उनका ध्यान दे रहे हैं, खुद होम मिनिस्टर भी दे रहे हैं और मेरा भी है, हमारे बाकी साथियों का भी है और जल्द से जल्द पता चलेगा कि एग्जैक्ट ये सब करने का कारण क्या है, किसने।
Now, this Bishnoi gang, which they're talking about, Lawrence Bishnoi, now he had just a few months ago in April, I think, just before the Lok Sabha elections, two of his criminals came and they fired at Salman Khan's residence in Bandra. And they got away with it, at the wee hours. Now, the point is, there was a threat perception. Yes, there was a threat perception. Bishnoi gang was proactive and they had come, fired, and they just got away. And, again, Salman Khan is a very well-known actor. He's not somebody, that these incidents are going to just be forgotten soon. So, given all this, and Baba Siddique also, they're saying he was given a vice security also. So, when you have a vice security, there must be some reason why his security was beefed, why he was given the security. And knowing all this, it was no secret that there were threat perceptions on Baba Siddique. And as I said earlier also, the point is, now the things are not clear whether it's just a Bishnoi gang's handiwork or there's something more to it. It could be land dispute, it could be something third angle, which the police is concealing or keeping it to themselves. So I'm sure the police will crack this case. I'm sure they will reach to a conclusion. But the point is, when it comes to public perception, and at the time when the Maharashtra is going to see a very fierce battle for Assembly 2024, it's an issue that is going to be talked about within the ruling party and within the opposition. And it's being discussed amongst the people also, but well, to what extent it actually translates into electoral politics, into votes, that I'm not sure. But yes, it is an issue.
You were listening to Three Things by The Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava, and was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.